What if the monster under the bed wasn't childhood fantasy, but a lifelong companion, a shadow self lurking just beyond the threshold of our awareness? We often speak of fear as an external force, a reaction to tangible threats. But what of the fear that arises from within, the disquieting sense that we are strangers to ourselves? What happens when the greatest dangers we face reside not in the world around us, but in the uncharted territories of our own unconscious minds? This is not a script about conquering fear in the traditional sense. It's an invitation to confront the fear of the unknown within ourselves, the fear of what we might discover if we dare to delve into the depths of our being. We are creatures of habit, constructing carefully curated identities to navigate the complexities of social life. We present polished versions of ourselves to the world, often at the expense of acknowledging the messy, contradictory truths that lie beneath the surface. But what happens to the aspects of ourselves we deem unacceptable, the emotions we suppress, the desires we deny? They don't simply vanish, they sink into the unconscious, where they fester and grow, exerting a subtle but powerful influence on our thoughts, feelings, and behaviors. This is the realm of the shadow, a concept explored by thinkers like Carl Jung, who believed that confronting our shadow self is essential for achieving wholeness and individuation. Imagine standing before a locked door, knowing that behind it lies a part of yourself you have long avoided. Perhaps it's a repository of past traumas, unacknowledged resentments, or suppressed creative potential. The fear of opening that door is palpable. What if we don't like what we find? What if confronting these hidden aspects of ourselves shatters our carefully constructed self-image? This fear of the unconscious is not irrational. It stems from a deep-seated instinct to protect ourselves from pain and disruption. Yet, paradoxically, it is this very avoidance that perpetuates our suffering. By refusing to acknowledge our shadow, we remain trapped in a cycle of unconscious behaviors, repeating patterns of self-sabotage and missed opportunities. This journey into the unconscious is not for the faint of heart. It requires courage, vulnerability, and a willingness to confront the uncomfortable truths about ourselves. But the rewards are immeasurable. By integrating our shadow, we can unlock hidden sources of energy, creativity, and authenticity. We can move beyond the limitations of our conscious minds and tap into the vast potential of our unconscious. We can begin to live more fully, more authentically, and more in alignment with our true selves. This is not a quest for perfection, but a journey toward wholeness. It's about embracing the totality of our being, including the parts we have long tried to deny. So, let us begin to explore this inner landscape, to map the contours of our unconscious minds, and to confront the fears that hold us back from living our most authentic lives. Let us dare to open that locked door and discover the hidden treasures that await us within. This is not just a philosophical exercise, it's a call to action, an invitation to embark on a lifelong journey of self-discovery and transformation. It's a chance to reclaim our power, to heal our wounds, and to become the authors of our own destinies. The path may be challenging, but the destination, a life lived with greater awareness, compassion, and authenticity, is well worth the effort. So, let's consider this notion of the unconscious not as a static entity, but as a dynamic process, a river constantly flowing and reshaping itself. It's not merely a repository for repressed memories and emotions, but also a source of intuition, creativity, and profound insight. The fear we experience stems, in part, from the illusion of control. We cling to the belief that we can manage every aspect of our lives, that we can anticipate and prevent all potential threats. The unconscious, by its very nature, defies this illusion. It reminds us that we are not entirely in charge, that there are forces at play within us that we may not fully understand. A significant component of confronting this fear involves acknowledging the inherent ambiguity of human experience. Life is not a neatly packaged narrative with a clear beginning, middle, and end. It's a messy, unpredictable journey filled with uncertainty and paradox. Similarly, the unconscious is not a problem to be solved, but a mystery to be explored. Attempting to force it into submission, to impose our conscious will upon it, is likely to backfire. Instead, we must learn to listen, to observe, and to cultivate a sense of curiosity about the hidden depths of our being. Taking this further, consider the role of societal conditioning in shaping our fears. From a young age, we are bombarded with messages about what is acceptable and unacceptable, what is good and bad. We internalize these messages and use them to judge ourselves, often harshly. The aspects of ourselves that deviate from these societal norms are relegated to the unconscious, where they become sources of shame and anxiety. Consequently, confronting the unconscious requires us to challenge these ingrained beliefs, to question the assumptions that underpin our self-image. Now, consider how this applies when you face a creative block. You might feel frustrated and discouraged, convinced that you lack the talent or inspiration to produce something worthwhile. However, this block may simply be a manifestation of your fear of the unconscious. Perhaps you are afraid to express a particular emotion, to explore a certain theme, or to challenge a conventional idea. By acknowledging this fear and allowing yourself to experiment, to take risks, and to embrace the unknown, you can break through the block and unlock your creative potential. Conversely, sometimes the fear isn't about what we might discover, but about the perceived consequences of acting on our unconscious desires. Imagine someone who feels trapped in a career they despise, yet remains because of financial security or social expectations. Their unconscious might be yearning for a more fulfilling path, but the fear of failure, of judgment, or of instability prevents them from taking the leap. In such cases, confronting the unconscious involves weighing the potential risks against the potential rewards, and ultimately choosing to prioritize authenticity and self-expression over external validation. It is a balancing act, a constant negotiation between the demands of the conscious and the whispers of the unconscious. Reflecting on this journey so far, we begin to perceive a pattern emerging, a dance between the known and the unknown, the conscious and the unconscious. It's as if we've been navigating a labyrinth, each turn revealing a new facet of our inner landscape, each dead end offering a valuable lesson about our fears and limitations. The initial apprehension we felt at the prospect of confronting the unconscious gradually gives way to a sense of curiosity, a desire to understand the hidden forces that shape our lives. Considering the interconnectedness of these explorations, it's clear that the fear of the unconscious is not a monolithic entity, but a complex web of emotions, beliefs, and experiences. It's intertwined with our societal conditioning, our personal traumas, and our innate desire for control. Untangling this web requires a multifaceted approach, one that combines self-reflection, mindful awareness, and a willingness to challenge our ingrained assumptions. As we pivot towards the final reflection, it becomes evident that this journey is not about eradicating fear altogether. Fear, in its own way, serves a purpose. It can protect us from danger, motivate us to take action, and alert us to potential threats. The goal is not to become fearless, but to cultivate a healthier relationship with fear, to learn to distinguish between rational and irrational anxieties, and to prevent fear from dictating our choices. Drawing these strands together, we see that confronting the fear of the unconscious is ultimately about embracing the totality of our being. It's about accepting our imperfections, acknowledging our vulnerabilities, and recognizing that we are all works in progress. It's about moving beyond the limitations of our self-imposed narratives and tapping into the vast potential that lies dormant within us. In light of these insights, the path forward becomes clearer, a path of self-compassion, curiosity, and courageous exploration. It's a path that requires us to be both gentle and firm with ourselves, to acknowledge our fears without judgment, and to persist in our quest for self-understanding, even when the journey becomes challenging. Now imagine our initial metaphor of the locked door. Having navigated the labyrinth, explored the web of fears, and embraced the totality of our being, we stand once more before that door, but this time with a different perspective. The apprehension remains, but it is tempered by a sense of anticipation, a knowing that beyond that door lies not a monster but a hidden treasure, a deeper understanding of ourselves and our place in the world. The question remains, are we ready to turn the key? So the key turns, the door creaks open. And what do we find? Not a monstrous figure lurking in the shadows, but a reflection of ourselves, perhaps distorted and unfamiliar, yet undeniably our own. The fear of the unconscious, we discover, is often the fear of confronting our own potential, both for good and for ill. It's the fear of accepting the full spectrum of human experience, the light and the dark, the joy and the sorrow, the strength and the vulnerability. This journey into the unconscious is not a one-time event, but a lifelong practice. It's a continuous process of self-discovery, self-acceptance, and self-transformation. There will be moments of clarity and moments of confusion, moments of courage and moments of doubt. But the key is to remain committed to the process, to keep exploring, to keep questioning, and to keep striving for greater self-awareness. The true reward for confronting the fear of the unconscious is not the elimination of fear itself, but the liberation from its tyranny. When we understand the forces that drive our thoughts, feelings, and behaviors, we are no longer slaves to our unconscious impulses. We become more conscious, more intentional, and more empowered to create the lives we truly desire. Essentially, it comes down to this. The unconscious is not an enemy to be conquered, but an ally to be embraced. It is a source of wisdom, creativity, and profound insight. By learning to listen to its whispers, to understand its symbols, and to integrate its lessons, we can unlock our full potential and live more authentically, more fully, and more meaningfully. The true practice begins now, not with grand gestures or dramatic pronouncements, but with small, consistent acts of self-awareness. It begins with paying attention to our thoughts and feelings, with questioning our assumptions, and with challenging our limiting beliefs. It begins with embracing our imperfections and accepting ourselves, flaws and all. Ultimately, confronting the fear of the unconscious is an act of courage, an act of self-love, and an act of faith. It's a belief in our own inherent capacity for growth, healing, and transformation. And as we continue on this journey, we may find that the greatest treasures we discover are not hidden in the depths of the unconscious, but reflected in the mirror of our own awakened consciousness. So, keep the key close and never stop turning it.